Something just happened in Melbourne that could change the entire 2026 Formula One season. And almost nobody noticed it, because while most fans were watching the timing screens during the first day of the Australian Grand Prix, Ferrari quietly revealed something inside the SF-26 that might give them an advantage other teams cannot copy. Not next week, not next month, maybe not this entire season. Here is why engineers across the paddock immediately started paying attention. During the very first practice session of the year, the timing screens suddenly showed something shocking. Ferrari, first. Second, Charles Leclerc at the top. Lewis Hamilton right behind him. A Ferrari 1-2 on the very first session of the entire championship. But the lap time is not the real story, because what rival engineers noticed was the way the Ferrari behaved on track. The car looked planted, through the fast corners, through the heavy braking zones, and especially on corner exit, where traction normally becomes a nightmare on a green track like Melbourne. But the SF-26 looked calm, stable, almost glued to the asphalt. And that is when people inside the paddock started asking a very uncomfortable question. Did Ferrari just unlock something in the new regulations that nobody else has? Because hidden inside the Ferrari is a subtle upgrade that changes how airflow moves under the car, how the diffuser generates downforce, and how the car gains stability exactly when the driver presses the throttle. Which means every corner exit becomes stronger, every straight becomes faster, and every rival suddenly has a very serious problem. But the most surprising part of this story might be the driver who exposed it. Lewis Hamilton, now in his second season with Ferrari. And after just one day in Australia, he already looked completely synchronized with the SF-26. Smooth, controlled, dangerously confident. And if the performance we saw today is real, then the rest of the grid might have just realized something very worrying. Ferrari may have arrived in 2026 with a weapon. What makes this even more fascinating is how early Ferrari revealed this. Because the first practice session of the season is usually the most confusing moment in Formula One. Teams arrive with months of development behind them. New aerodynamics, new power unit settings, new simulations that may or may not match reality. The first session is normally about checking systems, sensors, cooling, correlation between the wind tunnel and the real track. Most teams are not even trying to show performance yet. But Ferrari looked different from the very first laps in Melbourne. Charles Leclerc was the first to hint at it. As the session progressed, the Ferrari started climbing the timing screens, sector by sector improving, until suddenly the name at the top of the board was Ferrari. Leclerc in first place. Then something even more interesting happened. Lewis Hamilton appeared right behind him. Second place, a Ferrari 1-2, on the first practice session of the entire 2026 season. That alone was enough to get attention in the other garages. But the real signal was not the lap time. It was the way the car behaved. Watching the onboard cameras, the SF-26 looked incredibly composed. Through the fast direction changes, through the braking zones, even when the drivers attacked the curbs, the rear of the car stayed calm. That kind of stability is extremely difficult to achieve at Albert Park. The track usually starts the weekend with very little grip. Drivers are normally fighting the rear of the car. Small slides, tiny steering corrections, constant adjustments. But the Ferrari looked almost effortless. And the moment engineers began analyzing the data, they started noticing something very interesting. The Ferrari was strongest exactly where traction matters most. Corner exits. Every time Leclerc or Hamilton pressed the throttle, the car simply launched forward. No hesitation, no visible instability, just clean acceleration. That behavior points directly to the part of the car Ferrari focused on with this Melbourne upgrade. The relationship between the floor, the diffuser, and the exhaust flow. Because Ferrari designed the SF-26 so that when the driver accelerates, the exhaust gases help energize the airflow running under the car. That energized airflow feeds the diffuser, and the diffuser generates rear downforce. In simple terms, the harder the driver presses the throttle, the more stable the rear of the car becomes, which is exactly what we saw on track today. This concept is incredibly powerful. Because in modern Formula One, traction is everything. Every strong corner exit means more speed down the next straight. And over the course of an entire lap, those small gains become huge advantages. But what makes Ferrari's approach so difficult for rivals is that this is not a simple bolt-on upgrade. It is deeply integrated into the entire concept of the car. The engine packaging, the exhaust positioning, the floor geometry, the diffuser design. Everything works together as a single system, which means other teams cannot simply copy one piece and expect the same result. They would need to redesign large parts of the car, and that takes time, sometimes months. But the story of today's session becomes even more interesting when you look at the driver who helped reveal this advantage, Lewis Hamilton, because this is now his second season inside Ferrari. And today, for the first time, it looked like he and the SF-26 might finally be perfectly synchronized. And that might be the most dangerous part of this entire story, because what we saw from Lewis Hamilton today did not look like a driver still adapting to a car. It looked like a driver who already understands it. That difference is huge in Formula One. When a driver joins a new team, the first season is usually complicated. Different steering systems, different braking feel, different ways of deploying energy. Even the smallest details take time to learn. But this is Hamilton's second season with Ferrari. The communication with the engineers is now natural. The feedback is precise. And today you could hear that difference immediately on the radio. Short messages, very specific balance adjustments, a click of front wing, a small correction to stabilize the rear on throttle. Nothing dramatic, just calm, controlled communication. That usually means the driver already trusts the machine beneath him. And when Hamilton trusts a car, his driving style becomes incredibly efficient. Late braking, smooth steering inputs, perfectly controlled traction on exit. Watching the onboard cameras today, that rhythm was already visible. Hamilton was not wrestling the Ferrari through the corners. He was guiding it through turn one, through the fast changes of direction in the middle sector, and especially through the slower corners where traction becomes critical. Every time he touched the throttle, the Ferrari launched forward with impressive stability. That is exactly the behavior Ferrari engineers were hoping to achieve with the refined floor and diffuser package they introduced in Melbourne. The goal was not just raw speed. It was predictability, a car that drivers can trust when they attack. And based on what we saw today, that trust may already be forming. But the second practice session added another layer to the story, because this is normally where teams start revealing more realistic pace. Fuel loads drop, soft tires appear, engine modes become more aggressive, and suddenly the timing sheets begin to change. McLaren jumped to the top. Oscar Piastri delivered the fastest lap of the session. Mercedes also looked competitive. George Russell and Andrea Kimi Antonelli both appeared near the front. For a moment, it looked like Ferrari might lose its advantage. But something important happened as the session continued. Ferrari never disappeared from the fight. Leclerc remained inside the top group. Hamilton remained right there as well, close enough to confirm something very important. The pace from the morning was not a coincidence. The SF-26 was genuinely competitive. But perhaps the most significant detail of the entire day was something that rarely appears on the timing screens: reliability. Both Ferrari drivers completed their programs without major issues. No overheating, no strange energy problems, no unexpected mechanical warnings. That matters a lot, because aggressive technical concepts often reveal their weaknesses during the first race weekend. Cooling problems, energy deployment issues, unstable aerodynamic behavior. Yet the Ferrari ran smoothly through both sessions. And when a car combines speed, stability, and reliability on the first day of the season, the rest of the paddock starts paying very close attention, because that combination often means the car might be much stronger than people expected. But there's still one question everyone in the paddock is asking tonight in Melbourne. Is this simply a strong start to the weekend? Or did Ferrari just reveal a technical advantage that could shape the entire 2026 championship? And that question is exactly what makes Ferrari's first day in Australia so intriguing. Because when engineers from rival teams began studying the telemetry, one detail immediately stood out. The Ferrari was not just quick in one specific corner, it was quick everywhere. Fast in the slow corners, stable in the medium speed sections, and surprisingly confident through the fast direction changes of Albert Park. That balance is incredibly difficult to achieve. Most Formula One cars are built around compromises. Some cars are strong in high-speed corners but struggle with traction. Others are great on corner exit but unstable in fast sections. But today, the Ferrari SF-26 looked complete. And that is exactly why the upgrade Ferrari brought to Melbourne is attracting so much attention. Because the changes were not designed simply to increase peak downforce. They were designed to make the aerodynamic platform more predictable. Ferrari engineers refined how the floor channels airflow toward the diffuser. They optimized how the front wing influences the airflow under the car. And most importantly, they adjusted how the exhaust gases interact with the airflow feeding the diffuser. That interaction is the secret behind the stability we saw today. When the driver presses the throttle, the exhaust flow energizes the air moving under the car. That energized airflow increases the efficiency of the diffuser, which means the rear of the car gains stability exactly when the driver needs it most, during acceleration. That is why the Ferrari looked so strong exiting corners. Every time Hamilton or Leclerc applied the throttle, the rear stayed planted. No snap oversteer, no hesitation, just clean acceleration. And on a track like Albert Park, that advantage becomes enormous, because almost every corner leads into a short straight. Better traction means better acceleration. Better acceleration means higher speed by the time the car reaches the next braking zone. Over the course of an entire lap, those small gains become tenths of a second. And over the course of a race, those tenths can become the difference between winning and finishing second. But what makes Ferrari's solution particularly interesting is that it is deeply integrated into the entire design of the car. It is not a simple aerodynamic wing or bolt-on part. The system depends on the engine packaging, the exhaust positioning, the geometry of the floor, and the design of the diffuser, all working together as one concept, which means other teams cannot simply copy it overnight. To replicate the same effect, they would likely need to redesign large portions of their own car. And that is something that cannot be done in the middle of a season. But there is another factor that makes this situation even more dangerous for Ferrari's rivals: Lewis Hamilton. Because if today revealed anything, is that Hamilton already looks extremely comfortable inside the SF-26. And when a driver of his experience begins to trust a car like this, something very dangerous tends to happen. The lap times become incredibly consistent. The mistakes disappear, and the pressure on rival drivers begins to build. But Ferrari's strength today was not only Hamilton. Charles Leclerc also showed impressive pace. In fact, it was Leclerc who topped the very first session of the season. That means Ferrari now has something very powerful. Two elite drivers, both capable of extracting the maximum from the same machine, which creates a fascinating possibility for the rest of the season. Because if the SF-26 truly has the pace it hinted at today, Ferrari might soon find itself in a situation every team dreams about. A car capable of fighting for the championship, but also a situation every team fears. Two drivers capable of winning it. And if that scenario becomes reality, the real battle in 2026 might not only happen between Ferrari and its rivals. It might also happen inside the Ferrari garage itself.